Here we go. I think we're live. We're going live. Yeah, it looks like we're live. Hey, what's up? My name's Tim. This is the Corvus Cast. How the heck are you guys? It's been a long time. It's been a minute actually since we've done a cast. I don't have anything on my paper that I can actually talk to you guys about for the cast, so we're going to go off the cuff tonight. Right now my machine is currently acting funny because I'm trying to render a neural pattern and the neural pattern is not rendering and the cast is live. And so maybe I need to figure something out about that, but we'll see what happens. I got my gloves on, so you know what that means. We're going to be having a discussion over here on this other side to talk about all the different things that are coming about. And I didn't get to have an important conversation with you all about the newest part that's going to be coming, which is called the bends. No, not that thing that you get when you go diving from a buildup of too much nitrogen. It's more of something for sabers. And it's the 15 and 30 degree bends, which is what we're talking about. And I wanted to do this cast the weekend that I released the pre-order, but because of all the craziness that was happening in my life, like my kid had baseball practices and he was having baseball tournaments and doing all kinds of stuff, it was just ultimately really preventing me from being able to do the things that I needed to do for the business. Hey Ron, nice to see you, dude. I'm glad that you stopped by. Appreciate your presence here. Um, the the life business aspect has been kind of rough the last couple of weeks. I'm hoping that it's on the downslope now. Everything will kind of calm down a little bit, although we're just starting to get into football season, which means there's going to be a lot more stuff going on in a whole other direction. So I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens with that. But two really big things that need to be talked about is the bends, and we're going to go over here to my right side and talk about that right now. So let's go. Let me take this real quick. Mute you. All right, welcome back. So you guys, if you've been watching the stream, not the stream, excuse me, if you've been watching the socials and streams, oh my gosh, my brain isn't working today. If you've been watching the socials, you'll see pretty much across all of them that I've introduced everybody to the pre-orders for these bends, and they've been really, really, really successful in getting people's attention for Corvus Saber Foundry, and I'm really, really happy about that. In fact, they've been so successful that I don't even have to have the pre-order open anymore. The items have been funded at this point, so it's not that they weren't funded to begin with. I already had funding kind of set aside in case things went kind of south or funny with the pre-order. So, you know, it's not like they weren't gonna get funded. But the important bit is that they are they are basically funded at this point based on your generous contributions. So whoever went out there pre-ordered a bunch of these bends, I really appreciate you and keeping this project going and heading the direction that we want it to go. You can kind of see there on this 30-degree bend. It's got a little bit of damage on it from the machine. It looks like they messed that up when they were taking it off. I didn't recognize that the first time, but I do have pictures out there for these, so you can see them. The first one that we've got here underneath the camera is the 15-degree bend. It's much more subtle than the normal 45-degree bend, and of course I don't have a 45 here with me. I'm really frustrated because I thought that I had grabbed one on my way through the office the other day. But I have one now. This is the 15-degree bend. You can see it's got a pretty cool detail in it. And let's go ahead and compare it to the original 15-degree bend. No, that's not it. This is the 15. So it looks kind of close in size, but I actually trimmed off about a millimeter or two, maybe 3 off of this previous version. And then made some inlays on it to resemble a little bit of a Dooku action. So I'm really fond of these. And if you're not familiar with the design elements that I chose for this, clearly callbacks to Dooku on it, and I added the typical 2¼ millimeter. Oh my gosh, I call it a land, but basically it's a land that's formatted to fit the small side or the short side of the accent ring combinations. So you can find any one of my accent rings that are produced, and they all have that 2¼ deep, or the 2¼ well on that side, so it allows it to interact there. Now, if you decide to change it and put the long side on it, you could do that too, and it does a little bit different. It covers up a little bit more. Let me see if I can find some more components here. Make it look a little bit. You're not going to lose anything really by covering up all of it. In fact, it kind of covers makes that well, or that indention, look a little bit deeper on it. I'm trying to find a way to show you that in a nice way that doesn't have a ton of glare on it. My ring light above here just likes to out glare everything so much. You bring it down just a little bit. There we go. Now we're probably getting glare from my other lights that are blasting. All right. Well, that's the 15. You can kind of see a decent amount of detail there inside of that space, and the rings allow it to look just a little bit different if you sandwich it there. Let's see. Here's the 30. And again, this is a little bit less. It's almost barely perceptibly noticeable from the 45, but it's just about 15 degrees off of it, off of that 45-degree bend. Again, it has that Dooku style finger well depression, and if you have a tendency, but they are not physically perceptible, you can barely see them, and that's just leftover from the machine elements of the tooling that are being used to manufacture this. A design choice that I made on here is this interior placement of this. We'll call it a seat. I think seat is a better term than anything else that I've come up with for it. And so the idea is that if you wanted to use this on a area of your Saber that had a let me see, like in your emitter end, or if you're using it on something like the bottom end of your Saber, you needed to butt it up against something for like for a chassis of some sort. That shelf is there for a reason, and that shelf is there to protect those components so that they don't get stuffed down inside of here from like tip contact or anything like that. And let me show you what I mean by that really quick here, just to make sure that I don't have this disconnected. I can't really disconnect this very well, but essentially that shelf allows it to sit perfectly flush. I can't make this sit perfectly flush because the wires are in here, but basically allows it to sit flush. Whatever your LED system is, it allows it to sit flush inside of there, and it won't poke down inside of this piece. Especially if you had a centering ring on it, it would keep it from pushing down too deeply inside of that space. Best case would be to use a custom like chassis piece to center this and hold it in place so that it can't be pushed any further down inside of there. But that option, or that element, was an add on my part to make sure that it was safe for people to use this when they started, wanting to build or wanting to put together Sabers that were putting that bend on the front side or on the emitter side. So I appreciate that, Ron. I do like the details, and I do like the look of these. I think that they're pretty awesome. And I wanted to put a couple of builds together just to goof around. So some people like the compound builds. Other people like single bends. And so, it's kind of tough to time all of these up perfectly to make them look exactly as they would as if you had put a lot of time into building these on your bench. That's a craftsmanship side of things. And so I'll just show you a couple of these builds really quickly. Something that I can put something together really fast and give you an example of what it would look like with that bend. I think I had this put together earlier, kind of sitting on the rack, or sitting on this space over here before I took it all apart. But just wanted to show you what this looks like. It's a good opportunity for me to talk about the cast, moreover the Discord. Added a couple things to the Discord. If you're just now joining me on the cast, or if you've never been to a Corvus cast before, I do a lot of my communication through Discord, and it's been pretty busy lately, and so I've been off and on Discord. But generally speaking, the conversations are held on Discord. We talk about design, philosophy, concepts, all those things, and people bring me ideas through Discord. So if you aren't part of Discord and you're just joining the channel today, or you're just joining the stream today, come check out the Discord. Look up Corvus Saber Foundry's Roost. That's where we're at. You join the murder. That's the clan or group of people that we all hang out and chat and exchange ideas. I think we're up to like 18 or 20 people in the server total. It's not a huge server. It's kind of a friendly server. It's just generally there for us to interact and have fun and be part of a community of people that want to share Saber ideas and make cool Saber things. So that's the plug for the Discord. Come check it out. Hit me up, find some stuff, find some things to talk about, and we'll all be there. This was an example of a shrouded bend, or excuse me, a bend with a shroud and some gentle, we'll call it ergonomics to it. So it's a really nice place to hold your Saber here, as well as down here. A lot of cool places. There's actually a design that I have that I really want to, for a shroud that I really want to make, that has kind of a trigger point or a trigger finger feel to it for point manipulation of your Saber. I kind of want to produce one of those. I made it as part of one of my other Sabers called Lateralis. And I think that it's super stinking cool. I just don't know how exactly to produce it with the company that I'm with. So this is the 30. We'll go ahead and take this off, and I'll put the, or excuse me, this is the 15. I'll go ahead and take this off, and I'll show you the 30. And what I'll do is I'll try and get two of these together so that we can show you how they compare in relation to the bend that you're working with, or that I'm working with here. So this one gives it just a little bit more aggressive bend and a slightly more aggressive look to it, and then I'll put together like a compound bend. So there we go. This gives it just a slightly more aggressive bend. I like this. I think that it's perfect. The style, like the aggressive bend on that, it feels really good. And if I put that trigger mechanism, or not trigger mechanism, the trigger shroud on here, it would give it really nice point control for doing some fencing styles. I really do enjoy that. I think that it looks cool. And so I'll go ahead and take this. Actually, let me do this first. Let me get you a couple of parts together. I'll show you what this bend looks like in combination with a couple of other bits and bobs, so that they all kind of pull together. Let me get this. Let me swap in that guy and put this on here. I don't know if I got another switch over here. I think I do, but I don't know exactly where it's at. Just kind of looking around for it. There it is. I grabbed it. Bring this together for you. See what it looks like real quick. I really, really like the look of these. I'm really excited that we had an opportunity to get these put together for everybody, because they're so stinking cool. Let's put a do a thin neck, or a pseudo thin neck. How's that sound? That sounds like a plan. I like that idea. All right, we got that thing there. Maybe we'll grab one of these, and we'll just play around with something really quick here. This looks a lot like what Ron put together recently in one of the schemas. Yeah, that's a good one. Let's do that. None of these are perfectly centered up or like really super well aligned, just because the parts, they need to be timed correctly to make it fit all perfectly, especially with bends. And those bends are going to be really, really obnoxious sometimes. But I have confidence that you guys will be able to figure it out. This was kind of a throw together. I don't necessarily care that much for it. I think that it's kind of cool looking. But there's some examples, and you can see how rakish, or how far raked that bend is compared to one another. This is the 15. This is the, I'm sorry, yeah, 15, and this is the 30. So they are pretty aggressive, or sorry, the 30 is pretty aggressive compared to the 15. Just a little bit extra thrown on there. And then the other thing that we want to do, I only have 2 samples. And so what I'm going to do is I'll alter this really quick. We'll do something that I call a compound bend or compound setup. So if you've done this or you've seen this before, shout out, say something. There's a company, and they're really famous in the Saberverse for the parts that they created for a long time, and my parts are kind of a direct legacy or a direct descendant of that sort of legacy here. They made a Saber that was named after a snake. You might be familiar with it. I believe it was called the Black Mamba, and more recently there is a produced version called the Green Mamba. And so what I'm going to put together here is a we'll call it like a bodied version of the green mamba, just to play around, or a bodied version of a mamba, just to play around conceptually with the idea, what we can do here. And it's not going to be perfect, but it'll be something kind of fun to play around just as a thought experiment to see what's possible. It would need a custom core. It would need all those elements combined in it to make it a thing. In fact, I probably wouldn't do it with a 15 and a 30. I would probably do it with two 15s or two 30s, however that might look, to make this the right way. But we'll go ahead and put an end on here, and put this end on this, and we're just going to goof around and find something. Well, let's do this. I like that better. Get to do a little like let's build / let's design kind of thing. And you can't see all of it from my perspective here, but we'll go ahead and put a piece on like that, and we'll grab a, where did I put the pommel end at? I don't know where I put the pommel at. Let's grab a floater pommel that I got hanging around here. This happens to be a run-of-the-mill, like Vire, I think, pommel end for this. I can't think of what the name of it is. It's one of the more basic styles floating around. And then we're going to put this guy probably on here somewhere, I think. We might shorten that just a bit. Let's do that. And we'll tie maybe something like that. We'll tie the top end and the bottom end together and do this. This isn't super inspired. It's just get a little inspired by. And we'd have to put a switch on here somewhere, probably on the underside or maybe on top of one of the bends. And we'll leave the current emitter end on here. And we'll call it, whoops, I'm throwing screws around, guys. Easy does it. Watch out. All right, hang on a minute. Let me get this switched around and I'll get it repositioned on the screen for you. And we'll take a look at this, what it looks like here. I'm using the Wren shroud. Whoops, wish my fingers would work tonight. I got these gloves on and everything's falling out of my fingers. Okay. So this is something else that you could achieve with this. This is a compound bend saber, or a saber with compound bends on it, so 2 or more bends. I don't know if I would ever see 3 bends in a saber, but you never know what we could do. We could come up with something probably. But here's a good example of something that's inspired by the mamba, or the green mamba or black mamba, or whatever mamba you want to call it. So it has 2 bends to it, and it could be fun to play around with. Making a custom core for something like that. Of course, your inside would basically be limited to like this space here, and whatever this space is up here, and whatever that space is down there. So I think it would be a challenge for somebody to build that. They might have to do some custom work on the inside of these if they wanted to waller them out or do something like that. But you can make a lot of different a lot of different sabers with this, with a lot of different styles. I think if I had maybe put on something like accent rings, it might make this pop a little bit more. But basically the gist of it was just to get the concept out so people could see it and understand what that is, right? These are the bends, 15 and 30 degree. They're already in production. I sent them to production and launched the pre-order basically the same day, in the hopes that people would be interested and pick some up. And so if you haven't already picked your saber or picked up your bend orders yet, you probably should, but they're going to be open until September. They'll be available basically until product launch. So if you have interest in getting it reserved, there will be another announcement for it later this week. And then when the parts arrive, I'll make another announcement and let everybody know that the actual parts are live. But basically, we are fully funded and ready to go for these. So in this scenario, the pre-order worked out really, really well, right, and nicely in my favor. And that's that for the pens. Basically, I'm really super excited to get those out. I love them. I think that they're cool. I think they're going to be cool. I think that you guys are going to build cool things with them. So let's go and do that stuff. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and grab a couple of other smaller pieces, and we've talked about these already. And so let's see if I can't get them in the shot here, all of them in the shot, so that you can see them and read them and understand what they are. But basically, this was a contingency set of parts in case the bends didn't quite work out as well as I had anticipated. And so I have 3 versions of parts here, and you actually can't, some of these you can't see because they're hidden in other builds floating around here right now. But there's 3 basic adapters that are coming, which are expanded versions of the Type 1A, B, and C. These are the Type 6A, B, and C. And they come in 30, 31.5, and 33 millimeters outer diameter. So those three will launch here probably within the next week or so. And then there's two more that are basically versions of, I don't want to say versions of, they're not versions of, they're spiritual successors to the adapter Type 2. So the venerable adapter Type 2 has been on the market now for probably 2.5, 3 years. It's gotten a lot of service. It's served its useful life at this point, and if it goes away, I'm not going to be sad about it. But people are still buying it, so we'll keep producing it. But these are just variations, kind of on that. This was a two-stepper, and it was intentional to make it fairly short, so that you get a decent amount of stepping in between parts. I can show you what that would look like. The outer diameter of it is 32, I believe, and the inner diameter is like 31.5. So it butts up most of these. And just to give you an idea on what that would look like on a Saber, try to find a good angle on this so that you can see. It's very subtle, but I've always been about the details in between parts, right? I'll preach that until I go into the ground for lightsaber stuff. Is that Alloy isn't a super flashy system. It has a couple of really cool parts that kind of make it stand out, and it's solving problems inside of the community, I think, for certain things. But really, Alloy is not a system that that's built on that flash. It's a system that's built on just being a utilitarian type system, where an individual part probably doesn't stand alone on its own really, really well. But when you put it into concert with other pieces, it's where those elements really shine. And so this doesn't look like much, but when you put it in connection with other parts, like the other body components or something like that, this piece really starts to stand out. So will this one. I'm positive that will be great. This one is just a little bit taller version of this with a slightly larger outer diameter. I think it's like 33. I think the outer diameter is 33. Let me double check it really quick here. Yeah, I think it is. Nope, it's 32. 32 or 32.5. So a little bit more variation on the in-between bits, but it's just a little bit taller with a stronger land here on that top part of it. So those will be coming out here in August as the official parts launch for Corvus Saber Foundry through the beginning of August. I might do them in 2 waves. I might do the 6 A, B, and C first, and then later in that month, depending on launches for the oh my gosh, my brain stopped working, component schema kits. If I don't get any submissions for the component schema kits, I'll kind of be out a mid-month post or mid-month release, and so I might do a second release with the other parts, and then expecting the bends to arrive for September timeframe, probably early September. And that leads us down the path of what is next. So the what is next thing is always plaguing me. It's always like, hey Tim, what are you going to make? Everybody wants to know what the new things are. And I had some objectives this year that I really wanted to hit. And the things that I missed were accent sleeves. And so the next set of parts that I'm working on funding, and so they'll probably go directly to production, to be honest with you, like really, really fast, is going to be like a really simple set of accent sleeves. And when I say simple, like, I mean really ridiculously simple. Like if you think the Type 1 and Type 2 are super simple, these are going to be like Type 0 level accent sleeves, and no like embellishments, no fancy stuff, no nothing like that. And the reason why that is primarily because again, Alloy is really built on like what a combination or a concert of simplistic parts coming together make something better. And so I'm actually gonna switch over to my fusion stream really quick. I gotta get these gloves off really fast. Stand by one. Got them. Whew. Okay, they were stuck on my hands pretty bad. I was sweating. I guess you guys are making me nervous or something. I don't know. So sliding over to my my Fusion 360 stream or screen here. One of the things that I wanted to get to is these accent parts, right? And so I've got a Type 0 poking out here. We'll go ahead and grab this guy here and drag it in. We'll convert it to an assembly. I got a couple of them. So here we go. I'm kidding. You guys don't actually make me nervous. I actually don't mind talking to you. And my job, my actual real job, makes me more nervous talking to people there than here. I don't understand why that is, but it's silly. Um, Let me see here. I got that guy. I got that guy. These have goofy numbers on them, and the reason why they've got goofy numbers is because I was working on renaming them. But basically, the objective I think here is to be able to produce some slightly larger sized accent sleeves or accent sleeve components, so that you can make larger, more beefed up sections uh, on your Saber, right? And so if I can make them more simply, and so my thought process here was, oh geez, I just flipped that way over. Sorry guys, it went crazy. My mouse went nutso. Um, if I give them a gentle bevel, something that's not quite as aggressive, even this is a little bit too aggressive. If I take this down to something like 0.15, it'll look more squared off, just so it's not sharp, so it doesn't cut somebody. Um, but take it down to like a 0.15 and make that like the Type 0, so it's just flat across the board for all of these parts. Um, and then mimic for the type. Oh, hey, what's up, Zeus? I appreciate you coming and hitting the stream, my guy. I'm glad that you're here. Don't ever stop being you. uh, so the concept or thought process here was if I can make these simple enough, that it would just give a nice, easy, beefed up capability to be beefed up on your Saber somewhere. And for those of you that would be interested in doing something like this, I know I've got the Great Wazoo, who is my Hackmaster specialist. I believe that he could cut these into something if he wanted to. So you could potentially turn these into some sort of cutout shroud or something with a cutaway, or maybe even an emitter shroud if you really wanted to. So you could do a lot of stuff with these. And the idea, is that we need to get some more of these. I need to get some more of these out onto the market. We're basically just stuck at accent rings and accent caps and bands at this point. And so I guess my logic or my theory behind this is let's get a couple more of these things out here. The differentiation between what's an accent cap and what's an accent band are kind of fuzzy. The cap is one of those things that's like intended to sit on the end. Let's see if I can grab a part here really quick. An accent cap is something that's intended to sit on the end and cover basically one end of that Saber component, whereas an accent band will fit on it, but it doesn't necessarily look like a cap. It doesn't cover it. It doesn't like restrict it or do anything like that on the top of your Saber component. The extension into something like sleeves would be something longer that covers a much longer distance or much longer length on the outside of your Saber, so that you get a slightly different bulked up area. On all of this, just to be able to give you option, right? We know that the 33 millimeter outer diameter of your like VHC components is pretty standard. It's bog standard, and it doesn't, like, the generic versions of the Sabers don't really deviate that much in, like, let's see here. They don't deviate that much in outer diameter, right? Usually if you get one of these bog standard Sabers, you're going to be getting everything. Your outer diameter is going to be 33. The outer diameter. Oh, hey William, what's up, dude? I didn't realize you're in the chat. I didn't even see who was there. But the outer diameter of these is 36.15, and so they're basically the same outer diameter as most of the shrouds that you're buying. So like the slidable shrouds, the Hastati, the Wrens, the Shields, the things like that, and they're also the same outer diameter as the current Type 1s and Type 2s that are available on the market. So they basically are the same. And I guess the interesting bit of it is it opens up some space for me to pick up like smaller outer diameters. So I could take that down to like 35 if I wanted to, or drop it down even further towards like 34 to make it like really, really skinny. But I think keeping it close to what the system standard is right now for that outer diameter, it just gives it just enough variation off of the outside of it. I think if you're mathing with me, 33 millimeters to 36.15 is right about 1.5 millimeters of height, I believe. And so it could be a little bit less obtrusive, but I really like how that feels because that 36.15 puts it really, really close to that 1.4, 1.5 outer diameter that's like not perfectly comfortable, but it's manageable, right? It's while also giving it enough definition when you slide it over top of something. Like it really makes it pop. Um, and to be completely honest with you, William, I'm glad that you made mention of that. I have a Graflex style like shroud waiting. So you're saying it could be a sleeve for a Graflex style mount. Like if you were over sleeving, like say for example, if you were using this to put on your Saber and then you want to put a sleeve over top, like put another sleeve over top of that. I don't know who Arv is, but hey, what's up, dude? Welcome. I'm glad you're here. I don't know who this guy is. Um, uh, yeah, you could slide that sleeve over top of whatever part on your Saber is, and then put another Graflex sleeve over top of it if that's what you really wanted to do. Of course, you'd have to do some drilling. You have to do some. Oh, hey, nice. It's my kid's friend. He's coming to stop in on the stream. Um, so yeah, you could slide this on as an undershroud, I guess, to put underneath of a Graflex shroud if you really wanted to. So that's cool. Like that's a possibility. Of course, if you were taking that liberty, you would have to do some modding, make some adjustments to it yourself. But it should be pretty close. Yeah, you could do that too. A Graflex style clamp on that box, like for a box on that too, is a possibility. Like that's a very real possibility that could happen. But I also have in the background working in my dev stream, I guess we'll say, or my dev pipeline is a set of modular control boxes, we'll call them. And so ones that mimic things like Graflex, ones that mimic things like the Canon Y and Canon X boxes with interchangeable clamp uppers that I'm working on, or at least I have it mentally arranged in that space to where you can slide on different clamp styles or different box styles based on what you're working on, and have them also be functional for when you want to use them outside of that clamp or sliding style setup. And so maximum increased modularity with all those pieces. But again, that's one of those like really, really complex parts. And it takes a little bit of time to design all of those kinks out of it. And so again, the things that are coming in the next couple of months, this set of this set of, we'll call them accent parts. This set of accent parts is immediately in my radar for things that need to go. And then another thing that I wanted to work through this month, or by the end of this year before Christmas, so probably right around like November timeframe, I want to get a new pack of switches together. And so if things keep going the way that they're going, people are continuing to stay engaged with parts and picking parts up, then we'll have some additional items to pick up. Stuff. I really appreciate that comment, William. It's something that I strive for. I look for when I'm making my parts is to make sure that they're held to a really high standard, even for parts that are plain. I try to keep the ones that are damaged or at issue or broken from the factory out of my process, and hold my parts to really high standards so that you guys get quality parts for your builds. Companies like Custom Saber Shop really set the bar high for those for elements like that, and so making sure that I kind of live up to those standards is kind of helping me like walk in those footsteps and make sure that I'm producing parts that the community can use and want to use, moreover. And so these are one set of items that are on my list that I'm going to be submitting within the next couple of days. So I have these two designs here, and then I don't know if I have this out here yet, but so this one has a little bit more aggressive bevel on it. It's marked as a Cap 4, but basically it would have two bevels, one on each side, that would be like this. And so really the intent for that was to, oh man, my current viewers dropped really, really fast. The intent for that was to really channel some of that mining colony, vibe, right? If you look at some of those Gary Morris mining colony parts, they really have that like tapered drop off spot when you start putting those pieces together. And I know that when those were built, they were built in a certain way and not like this. They were much larger outer diameter parts, but the intent is to really capture that feel, that stepped feel on these parts, so that you have that nice transition, either a firm like hard transition that feels more square, or that step down soft transition. There may even be like a rounded transition version of that in the very near future too. We'll see what comes out of it, but I think that with the recent interest in parts and the orders that have been going out, that we're going to have enough funds to run at least 5 or 6 of these parts in one go, and maybe even run them in a pack of 50. That's kind of been one of my MOs, is I'll demo kind of new parts, and if they're popular, I'll demo new parts. I'll bring them in like counts of 50, and if they're popular and they sell enough, then we'll go ahead and move on to replenishing them at stock of 100. And so that's kind of been a way that I've been saving money and still being able to produce the same number or same quantity of parts. Like, for example, if my order would have been 300 or 400 parts, instead of ordering 4 parts that are 400 total, I'm now ordering 5 parts that are, or 8 parts that are 400 total, something along those lines, where I get a lot of bang for my buck. I'm bringing out a lot of new product, a lot of new types of product, a lot of different types of product that are allowing me to kind of, I don't want to say flood the market, but splash the market with a lot of cool ideas really, really fast. So these new things here, and then some other stuff that I've got behind the radar that I've been working on. This is in dev. This doesn't look like much. This is a 30 millimeter outer diameter, 105 millimeter length component, and you can see it has 2 little keys on here because the intent behind this is to create something that I don't know has been made for VHC yet, and that element is what I'm calling a slip grip. And so I'm going to go ahead and show this to you on the pretenses that hopefully my competitors aren't going to steal this from me. But we'll go ahead and show it off anyway. But so it's a basic female end, or female part with a slotted end in it to allow an oversleeve to fall on top of it. And this oversleeve can be printed from any material that you want it to be printed from. The idea would be to utilize, instead of metal, to start walking down the path of finding a 3D printing service to create this new set of shapes, or this new set of grips. And essentially you would be creating things like the Cal Kestis, like an overgrip that's like a Cal Kestis overgrip, or you would create something like, like a waffle grips. And I got an example of a knurled grip that's on here. You could do a diamond knurl, you could do a straight knurl, you could do a wider straight knurl, you could do all kinds of different things. And because the ability exists and it's there for us to be able to print, it's much cheaper to be able to manufacture those items or create those items that have those standout textures that would cost a lot to manufacture. And the idea is, if this is really, really popular in this shape, and this is 33 millimeter outer diameter, so this would fit underneath of accent rings. So you could put this on, put accent rings over top of it. You could do all kinds of different things with this to make it much more user-friendly, or look like it's in universe or made out of something like you would find in the Star Wars universe. You could paint it, you could do anything to it. And I was going to work on making a series of other ones while I was on the channel tonight. Just goofing around. Let's see here. Let me get these turned off here. Don't want to save that. Don't want to save that. I just want to work on this stuff. I was working on building some of these other items, but I got outside of my comfort zone here really quick when I started playing around with some of this other stuff. Just 1 second here. I got all these parts stuck in this read-only space, and I was working on the mall segment. I really want to produce the mall segment and get that out, but I don't know that that's going to happen this year. That might be an early next year. I missed the shark jumping episode for that. The new mall show came out earlier this year in like May, and I wanted to produce it for May, but I was also on the fence on producing a couple of other things, and so I kind of took my time and I left it. I left that on the table. I'll produce them all in a little bit, and we'll work on getting that out like early next year, hopefully. And I haven't gotten it quoted. I'm sure that it's going to be expensive, but we'll see what happens. So, anyways, the thought process on this again is using this component here, which is 30 millimeter outer diameter with a couple of keys in it. You would put whatever your I guess holding elements are on one end or the other of this. I would recommend using the 33 millimeter or 33 outer diameter, the 33 outer diameter male. So like the type 1A, excuse me, type 1C or something like that to bind one end of this off. And then you would slide on this slip grip that would be printed from like nylon, some sort of nylon or something like that. You can make a corn horn speeder bike. I have like hundreds of these textures in my brain for what we can make with something like this, to be able to genuinely make a really cool element. And the best part about it is that I could open the template up to people who know 3D design and want to do or want to make those parts that are compatible with it, and you guys could go ham on something like this. All I ask is that if it's a part or an item that I would be created that I have created, like don't recreate it, unless or like at least give me feedback. You're like, hey man, your texture sucks on this. Like remake that, and I'll remake it with a better texture or something like that, and keep it going. So like for example, if I make a diamond texture and a straight texture or something along those lines, don't come in and try to steal those textures and put them on your thing and then take it. That's all I ask. Actually, I don't even really care. It's cool if you guys want to participate in that. And the idea would be is if this is popular enough in this 105 millimeter shape, I could potentially make it in the 80, in the 50, in the 32, and the 8, or excuse me, the 38 in the 16 version. Maybe not the 16 version, that might be a little tough, but it could be made in those other versions such that you would be able to get the tiny versions of the parts that you wanted with those cool other, I guess we'll call them, I don't want to call them inserts, but really it's what it looks like on the Saber as if there was an area of plastic that was embedded, right? It was embedded in the Saber, or it was like in those spaces. So I'm really excited about this component. I've been working on trying to get it produced for some time. And the idea keeps eluding me. Previously I had built where this sleeve or this individual piece had kind of these square nubs that were on top of it that ran the length of it. And that would prevent you from being able to like twist it. So the sleeve wouldn't twist on that body part. But then I realized I'm kind of losing some opportunity for depth in my designs. Let me just do this really fast. Let me save this let me see here. And I'll slide it on there and we'll show you how that would work. Slip. And we'll call that the diamond. Okay, we got that saved in the thing there. Okay, we'll go ahead and close that out. It doesn't have the key. It doesn't have the key on it. It doesn't have the key on it, but let me show you what that's going to look like. Let me get this out of here. It's still pending that build because it's a lot of diamonds on it. Excuse me. This Corvus Cast brought to you by the Purple V8 energy drink. It's got blueberry and pomegranate, and it's delicious. Just kidding. I'm not sponsored by them. Don't sue me, please, V8. Your drinks are pretty good, though. No lies. It's a nice, delicious flavor for the night. So let's go ahead and find that guy. Okay, let's get him out here. Yep, convert that to an assembly. Pop, 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 pop. Where are we at here? There it is. Haha, got him. So that's what that would look like on your Saber if you wanted to have it there, messing around with it. And this is how it would work. Let me go get it. Let me just go ahead and show you, because that's how I'm going to have to show everybody. There's a lot of things that are in they're in alloy that people don't completely, fully always understand if they don't see it themselves. And so I got to demo it in real life, but I also got to demo it in 3D to make sure you guys see this stuff. So here we go. If you put a knot what's the word I'm looking for? 30 millimeter part. Actually, it might work. It still might work because I'm putting these keys on here. But the ideal state for this would be to utilize a 33 or excuse me, a 31 or higher outer diameter adapter on here. I'll hit you up in just a second, William. Let me talk about this really quick, and we'll discuss it. I have the idea. I've got the concepts. I'll show you the switches. I've had switches on my brain for a long time, but anyways, this is how this is supposed to work. There would be keys on this outer shroud here that would get trapped inside of these two keyed spaces right here. I'll show you really fast. Inside of these two keyed areas, and essentially what would happen is when this adapter gets threaded in, I got to move it, I got to translate it here. When this adapter gets threaded in, it would trap that part in that sleeve, creating one component in totality. And then you would put your other parts on this as you would normally to connect all your parts together. And that's basically the gist of how that would work. It really only requires one end because it has those trapped key elements on either side of it. And in fact, I'm pretty positive, I wouldn't do this necessarily, but I have a 30 outer diameter component here that I believe will work. And the reason why it will work is because these key elements here will be trapped underneath of that 30 millimeter outer diameter. So you could technically do this. Of course, I don't think I would recommend it because it's kind of sketch, right? The possibility of the sleeve or those nubs failing, it could be a thing. It could happen. And I don't really want to yeah, go ahead and do that. You can test that out. That's kind of cool. But I think I would rather go with something that's a little bit bigger or properly sized. And you can't really see it in here, but you would be able to see that keying here on this inside portion, kind of if you had this ring here on this spot, right? Let me slide that out of the way, see if you can see that. Yeah, you can kind of catch that right there on that spot. That's where that key would be. And so the accent ring would hold that key down in that spot. Or not the accent ring, but that part would hold that key down. So maybe I add a couple more keys. I don't know, something along those lines. But it could be a thing. It's definitely looking positive in the correct direction. I believe that's actually the right way that this is supposed to work. I believe that's how that's going to work. But we can make some more of these. I might do a little quick design on one of those really fast, just to again try and do this really quick, like just to play around, something to mess around with here. So you guys are kind of watching me go through this. I know that William had asked me a question about those about switches, and so one of the things that I've had on my list for a long time is redoing the switches. And I acknowledge that the current switch that I have on the market is numbered the 2.1, and that's because it's actually the second. Well, let's see here. It's the first redesign of the second switch that I have in a series of switches that I've made, if that makes sense. So I've got a switch type 1, type 1.1, 1.2, 2, 2.1, 2.2, 3, 3.1, 3.2, etc., etc. I have about 12 of them that I've made in totality. And my goal is to produce some more of those, but I'm working on a redesign of those switches. I'm actively trying to move away from this style. Let me open this up really fast. I'm actively trying to move away. You can see them here. So 1, 1.1, 1.2, 2, 2.1, 2.2, 3.0, 3.1, 3.24, among other things, so on and so forth. So I'm actively trying to move away from this open AV switch style. So you'll see it here. This is the current model switch that I have on offer right now. It's been popular. People like it. It channels kind of a classic VHC look, allows you to get access to that button. but I'm not really a fan of it, and I'm always willing to tinker with things. And so something that I want to change with this design is this area down here. Right now, my parts really only support electronically VHC parts. And I don't think that that's super duper fair um, to other people that want to use different types of electronics. And so one of the things that I want to do is work in another screw hole down here on the bottom. I don't necessarily want to punch another screw hole, but I have an idea for how to design this so that a single screw hole could be useful uh, in a outer sort of insert, we'll call it, or something that's inlaid, basically, that allows you to flip this if you want to flip it and then bind a part inside of there, right? So it would come like the screws, excuse me, the switches would end up coming with their own screw so that you could put those items in and get it anchored correctly so that it fits the right way. But basically, it would be a piece that gets cut out of here that's kind of oval shaped, and you can push this into the inner diameter and then flip it 180 degrees and reset it back in here, and you would be able to serve the TXQ community with their oh my gosh, with their chassis types as well. And basically, it would just be a quick redesign of this space here. And then the second part of this is this part here. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what this new element looks like. And I'm going to, oh, hang on a minute. I didn't want to open that in its own. So I'm going to pull this out in here and show you what this looks like. So this is actually a perfect overlay. It's the same exact part that's been redesigned for something that's quite a bit different. And so I'll put this in here and give you an idea on what this looks like. One of the things that I'm trying to go towards is what I call a direct impingement plunger. And that direct impingement plunger would basically have a ledge on it that allows it to be inserted kind of the same way as this other piece that I'm talking about internally to this part. And this is a different size. I sized it a little bit up so I could fit 4 millimeters. But basically your plunger would fit in here and the screw would push your electronics up to that plunger. And then you would use the plunger to actuate the parts. So it looks like a much more complete part, at least in my opinion, a much more complete lightsaber. It doesn't look like it's using modern parts to affect a lightsaber that exists in another universe. Verisimilitude is one of those things that I really, 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 really like. And when I work and play with my sabers, I want them to feel like they are existing in another universe and not me turning something on to connect to that universe, right? Like not me turning on something that looks like it's in this universe. And so like I've argued about this with people at length, and I know that there's people that hold very strong opinions about this. I don't personally care for external charging. I don't personally care for external buttons like that. And so the thought process is I would be able to produce a number of these plungers, like in aluminum, in brass, in TPU, or something soft if you like that, in different lengths so that you could use them with shrouds over top of them. And they're 4 millimeters. They're going to be 4 millimeters in diameter. Let me check that. Yeah. The intent would be to where you would be able to put a shroud over top of them, and that plunger point would be able to poke up through, and you could press that button as well. So you could put your own screw holes in it. You do all kinds of things to make this functionally work like that, right? But two massive redesigns that I want to undertake, and these are relatively simple redesigns. It's literally just deleting. I say massive. It's a lot of parts. You can see on the left-hand side of my screen all the items that have large plunger holes or large button holes versus the one that has no real button holes. And so the idea would be redesign all of those, and really all I got to do is just get rid of the beveling and the hole itself, the original big hole, and repunch a new smaller hole with the new dimensions that I have expectations of producing. And there has been like a thought process in my mind of, well, hey, can I make another larger version of this to facilitate people that like the larger system, right? They like the charging port and all those things on that. And so maybe I make a longer plunger, or excuse me, a longer switch section that has another one of those plates that can be interchanged on it that would facilitate blanking off a charging port, or changing the shape of that charging port, or incorporating one of these plungers. It's something that really has a lot of possibilities to it, but I'm trying to forge my own path with my own components to make my system feel the way that I want it, and then I'll come back and start serving some of the other systems as well. But this is the thought process and the direction that I'm going towards with these parts. I need to do a little bit of redesign and figure out how to make them work that way. I know that the manufacturer can make it work. It's just a matter of redesigning these, and then additionally, there's another part here that I've been toying around with. Is this guy here, which is a male version of the same switch style, right? And so you can see I've already kind of toyed around with the idea of putting 2 screw holes on this. I can see the size and shape of this, and so really all I got to do is build an emboss function on here that will give me the size and shape of that, and then I can build that size and shape separately to make a like a recessed button slot, or not button slot, a recessed threaded screw hole slot kind of thing for that, right? But same type of concept, same type of idea. And to be honest with you, William, I've been walking down the path of really working through how to facilitate a 2-button setup. And I don't like the stacked 2-button setup where one is above the other. Doesn't make sense. It makes sense like when you're holding it in your hand, but visually I don't really care for the look of it. I feel like it's just I didn't know how to do this. The important bit is that I don't actually have a chassis that's capable of doing that 2-button piece, right? I don't have something designed to support that yet. I'll say yet. And so moving down the path of a 2-button when a 1-button can accomplish pretty much all the things that a 2 can at this point, with all the motion control and the stuff that you can do on your phone now, it really kind of invalidates the need for a 2-button. But that said, if I did a 2-button, it would be a 2-button in a Y configuration where they would be split like this, as opposed to in vertical formation where they're top to bottom. That's not saying that it's not a possibility in the future. I could go down that path and possibly develop something if somebody needed that. But the space that I've developed here for my switches is the size that I want those switches to be, because they match what my vision of what my system is going to be used for to create that. That's not saying that it's not going to be possible. It's not saying that's not something that I won't incorporate. It's just I'm not there yet to making those second switches, because right now, really, VHC is just starting to explore that 2-switch system, and they've really incorporated it into the switches themselves. So like they have a 2-button switch already that's usable as one of their top tier cores. It has a 2-button like a hemispherical switch that has a split in the middle of it. It's got like a little bar on it, and you can use the top or the bottom of it. And so obviously the single button thing wouldn't work with that. But the path that I'm walking down right now, I'm planning to make a core at some point. And yeah, I'll just put it out there. I've already got some designs, and I've been kicking some ideas around. What I mean is, are you going to do one where it'll be one button in front of the other? I don't necessarily know that that's going to be a thing yet. I'd have to explore the ideas for that, simply because that requires a custom core. Or if TXQ produces one, which I don't know if they produce one anymore, they used to produce a 2-button core that was stacked vertically, right? And so my parts are primarily designed to work with the modular elements that exist in VHC, and soon I'm going to be incorporating that TXQ piece. But I think that TXQ has largely moved away from a 2-button core because most of the Sabers can accomplish that stuff with a single button. In fact, I think that it's so far obsolete now that it's not even thought about in terms of offering features, because of things like apps on the phone. Usually that second button controlled I think Flash on Clash or Force Powers or something like that, and now that's kind of being contained inside of those Sabers with like motion control or combinations of single button presses and holds or something along those lines. So eventually sometime that's probably going to advance into the space of like AI is going to be able to predict when you want to use a force power. I don't know. I'm just making that crap up. But yeah, this is the intention behind these designs is to start moving me towards options where I can more easily and readily produce a custom core component by myself. Um, so that we have designs that will fit and work with this, but also still facilitate the other modular elements that are available on the market right now. So somebody with a core that was VHC or with a TXQ core could pick up one of my parts, put it in, still use the plunger, still use the screw holes, and still make something work with it, as opposed to requiring my bits to make a custom component or make a custom core or require a custom core. And my philosophy has always been about serving the greater VHC ecosystem as well as that TXQ group of people. And so every time I design one of these parts, the thought goes into it to make sure that I'm providing those options to the community so that they can continue to build the stuff that they want to build, and also build in that capability for myself. If I wanted to adapt into something bigger, I could do that and create a much larger standalone process or much larger standalone system. So always trying to keep those things in mind when I'm putting these pieces together. And look at that, we're already at 9 o'clock. I'm pretty much done with this. I talked about the switches. I was gonna do. I haven't done a long cast in a long time, so I'll go ahead and stay on the horn for a little bit, and I'll work through a quick design on this sleeve here really quick. This has got the knurled diamond on it. We'll go ahead and get that off of there. We'll just play around with this guy really quick. Try and make something really fast. And I don't know if I have the skills anymore to do this, but we'll see what happens here. And oh man, I'm already rusty. Here it is. Got me rusty. So just gonna drop a couple of circles on here, and I'm gonna use this as a demarcator. Something that I can block out a zone that I want to do work in. And we're going to rotate this around the barrel here. And that's going to leave me with a roughly 1 or 1/2 millimeter. I don't really care for that 1/2 millimeter piece, so I'm going to move this really quick. I'm going to edit that and slide that one step that way. Whoops. Why are we not stepping the way I want you to step? Okay. All right. Okay, I just want to put a line of demarcation on here so that we could see it. Now I got the zone that I'm going to be working in. This is the space that I want. Now I got to make a series of cuts. Let's do a simple vertical. I got to measure this distance really fast. This is 100.5 millimeters. So what we're going to do is I'm going to build an offset plane off of the front, and it needs to be, what are we going, 2 millimeters? 2 millimeters, yeah. We're going to go 2 millimeters. Okay, 2 millimeters off of there, and I'm going to draw me a line, and I'm going to use this spot here. Things are kind of dicey right now because my computer's acting funny. And we'll go 1/2 millimeter in width. And we'll do that. That's fine. Do that thing there. Okay, so that offset plane, I set that at 2 millimeters, which set it directly in the middle of that circle. So you can see it now. And why I'm doing this is I'm going to use this piece here, and I'm going to cut about 101 millimeters of depth out of that, in length out of that. And you should see it go all the way to the end. Yep, okay. It went all the way to the end. Cool. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to replicate, I'm going to wrap that thing all the way around this component so that it makes a pattern. Let's make a pattern. A what? Let's make a pattern. Sorry. Go Noodle. Stuck in my brain, dude. All right, we're making a pattern. It's at 96. That's an awful lot of those. Let me see how many more I can fit. Let's see. Let's drop it back. 50. That's too few. There might be a point where we need to put on here quite a bit less. Let's go 100. 20. Yeah, that's a good one. We're gonna let this think for just a second. 120. There we go. And so just like that, you guys saw how simply and how quickly that could go. I don't know, excuse me. I don't know what resolution printers would get or would be able to get for something like that, um, which is quite a high number of these. I'd have to talk to Eidolon and find out if a printer can hit that kind of resolution to be able to make a straight knurled sleeve just like this. But the possibility exists. It is there. It's something that we can do. I know that I can do it while I'm running my while I run my other parts. I've got two parts right now: the type 1A and type 1B body components. But this would be basically a version or slip grip version of that. And that came out relatively quickly and easily. Let's go ahead and save this. I like that look. We're going to call it the slip grip. And really, honestly, like this option would be something that's on the table for somebody that doesn't necessarily want to have a metal knurled grip or a grip that isn't exactly, or something. I guess something that doesn't look like metal, right? You could put this on so that it looks like a polymer piece, or that it looks like some sort of new, unique, interesting element that isn't necessarily aluminum. Just something for more visual interest. It's just an option for like concepts, just an option for ideas completely. I put on here slip grip. That's knurled straight. Sorry, you guys got to see my terrible typing. Let me just put this in dev here really quick. CSS project dev. Okay, there's that one. We'll play around with one more really quick and see if I can make something dumb. We're gonna do the same thing again. And if you guys are saying, "Wow, man, this looks pretty simple. I could definitely do this," I've never been one to say, "No, don't do that." Go do the thing, man. If you want to try this stuff out and you want to learn how to 3D print, or not 3D print, 3D design, be my guest and do it. I'm using the most rudimentary methods that you can to create this stuff. There's probably far more elegant and beautiful techniques that people are using. I'm not that guy. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not teaching anybody anything fancy. I'm not developing or like making. Hang on a minute. I think I messed up on a size here. There we go. I had to get sure I get that right. I'm not like coming up with anything crazy. I'm literally just drawing circles and making sure these things work the way that I want them to work. Hey, see you later, Ron. I appreciate you and thank you for stopping by. I'm really excited to have you in my court still. So go out there and do whatever it is you're going to do and have fun. I'm going to finish this up here pretty quick. I'm not going to do this for a very long time, but just showing you really quickly how easy it is to make that element. I kind of want to do a waffle grip appearance. So we're going to take the same shape that we made just now off of, you know what? I'm going to do this the silly way. I am going to duplicate this grip and save myself some time. Let me do this really fast. Whoops, not that one. I need my, yep. I have it open already. Gosh, I'm so silly. All right, we're going to copy this. Copy it in here. It's going to make a new version, and we're going to rename that. Neural waffle. Okay. Oh, everybody's dropping off. That's okay. Neural waffle. Let's go ahead and finish this thing up, and we're going to wrap this really fast. I am starting to get tired. I'm starting to bleed. My voice is failing me. This week was crazy. I spent a lot of time yelling at my kid for baseball. Not yelling at my kid, but yelling for my kid in baseball practice. And my voice is basically just destroyed. So what we're going to do, draw a line and put it on this here plane, and I want to put it up here somewhere. Let's do this. I want longer knurls. I don't necessarily want shorties. So I'm going to build this as 2mm knurls with a break in the in-between. So I want to make sure that I set this to the right depth. We'll go 4 and we'll go, hang on a second here. Boop. Let's go 4.4 depth. Okay. There is 100% an easier way to do this. I just don't actually know what it is. Okay. We're going to rotate this back around the outside here again. We want to hit the body. Okay. And okay. And there we go. So there's a little bit of a knurl with a break in it. So what I want to do is I'm going to duplicate that break and I'm going to send it down here with a pattern. Here we go. Let's do a pattern. I want to do a pattern on a duplicate feature beta fast piece, linear axes in rows, creates a rectangular pattern. All right. I want to select this feature here and this axis, and we're going to run it lengthwise out this direction to the end. I'm going to come all the way down here to that space, and I want to do, how many do I want here? I got quantity. Just keep stacking this up until I get it to a spot where I like it, or I think it looks good. I'll take it to, let's go 28. No, not quite there yet. 30. 42. It's a good number. Meaning of life, of all things. Hey, that's the one I want, right there. Looks good. I like it a lot. Bam. All right, now we got it. 42. Look how quick that was to make that knurl. Now my machine is gonna go crazy. It's not gonna like this, how to figure this out, but we're gonna do it. Ooh, here we go. It's working currently. My face is covering up the screen that says it's working really, really hard trying to figure out how to do this correctly. Not sure why it is doing what it's doing, but that's okay. It has a number of those that you can set to it. You can crank that number all the way up to like a bunch. That's how I would make a grid. That's how I would make something on this. So if you pick up 3D design or you come over here to try and learn something from me, you're welcome to pick up any of these techniques. They're all really simple tools to use and figure out how to do this. All you have to know is how you want things to look in space. There's a couple of other tools and items that you could use to make it work. So my computer is currently processing this thought or this idea. We're going to go ahead and call it a night here. I'm going to go ahead and plug all the stuff that I want to plug again. So number one, if you haven't gotten on the Discord and you want to get in touch with me, you should get on the Discord. Come find me. I'm available there pretty much 24/7. I don't want to say 24/7, but like we'll call it like 21. Like 21/7, because I really don't actually get like 8 hours. We'll call it like 22/7 or something. I'm available there pretty much all the time. Hit me up on the Discord, Corvus Saber Foundries Roost. I'm available. Join the murder. There's plenty of people there. Plenty of like-minded people. Plenty of people that are interested in your progress in the Saber community and the builds. You should come and check that stuff out. I try to do these every 2 weeks. So the Corvus Cast is an every 2-week thing. I give you guys updates on all the stuff that happens. I'll be back in about 2 weeks to hit you up for the next big thing and make those announcements and let you know what's going on, and hopefully show you some more design work. I haven't done a lot of design work here recently because I've got so many parts in catalog right now that it just takes a lot. It takes a lot away from the cast if I'm doing this design piece over announcing and letting people know what else is going on. So. Anyways, it's my time to go. I think that it's time to get out of here. It's late this evening. My wife is getting on my nerves. I can hear her right now. In fact, there she is. I'm going to catch you guys later. My name's Tim. This has been the Corvus Cast. Peace out. See you next time.